The day my life changed didn't begin with a storm, as one might expect. It started with a perfectly ordinary morning. The sun was shining over our small town in Nigeria, the air humming with the scent of wet earth from the previous night's rain. I remember humming to myself as I packed my work bag, completely unaware of the storm brewing in my family, a storm that had my name written all over it. My name is Amara, and I'm the eldest daughter in a family of 5. My parents, especially my mother, have always had a soft spot for my younger sister, Ijeoma. Growing up, I told myself it was normal, that Ijeoma simply needed more attention because she was the delicate one, shy, soft-spoken, and easily overwhelmed by life. Meanwhile, I was the strong one, the responsible one, the dependable pillar they could always lean on. I had worked hard to get to where I was, a good job in finance, a modest apartment of my own, and a solid credit history I had spent years building. Ijeoma, on the other hand, had struggled to find her footing. She hopped from job to job, barely saving a penny, but my parents never stopped shielding her from the consequences of her choices. Still, I loved her deeply. She was my baby sister, after all. Or so I thought. That morning, I received a call from my mother. "Amara," she said breathlessly, her voice filled with excitement, "Ijeoma's boyfriend has proposed. They want to get married before the end of the year." I smiled. "Wow, that's great news, Mama. Have they set a date yet?" "Not yet, but we'll meet this weekend to discuss it," she said. "I'm so proud of your sister. She deserves a beautiful wedding." Her words warmed me, but there was something in her tone, an underlying expectation, that made me pause. Still, I brushed it off. Weddings were expensive, yes, but I figured they'd plan something simple, within their means. How wrong I was. The following weekend, my family gathered at my parents' house. The moment Ijeoma walked in with her fiancé, Chike, all eyes were on her. She looked radiant, practically glowing with happiness. I hugged her tightly, genuinely happy for her. But as the discussions began, I realized this was no ordinary wedding plan. Ijeoma pulled out a brochure for a grand hotel and event center, one of the most expensive venues in our state. "This is where I want to have the wedding," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. I blinked at the glossy photos of chandeliers, fountains, and sweeping staircases. "This place must cost a fortune," I said carefully. "It's $20,000, my mother announced proudly, as though the figure was nothing. I nearly choked. 20,000? Mama, that's insane. Where will the money come from?" My parents exchanged a glance. My father cleared his throat. "We've been thinking, Amara. You're doing well financially. You have good credit. We were hoping you could help secure the payment. Just temporarily." The room spun. "You mean, take out the venue in my name?" I asked, stunned. "Not take it out," my mother said quickly. "Just use your credit card to book it. We'll pay it off slowly, little by little. It's for your sister. She deserves this day." I stared at them, speechless. "Mama, Papa, do you hear yourselves? $20,000 isn't a joke. I can't just put that on my credit card." My mother's face hardened. "Amara, you've always been blessed. God has favored you. Your sister hasn't had your opportunities. This is a chance to support her." Ijeoma looked at me, her big brown eyes shimmering with tears. "Please, Amara. It's my dream venue. I'll never ask for anything else, I promise." My heart twisted. She looked so vulnerable, so desperate. Against my better judgment, I said, "Let me think about it." Over the next week, my phone buzzed constantly with messages from my mother and Ijeoma, pressuring me to agree. I barely slept, torn between guilt and practicality. Finally, exhausted and emotionally manipulated, I caved. "Fine," I told my mother over the phone. "I'll book the venue, but you have to promise me, promise, that you'll make the payments." She swore up and down that they would. You won't regret this, Amara. God will bless you. The next day, I used my credit card to secure the venue. My hands trembled as I typed in the numbers. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was making a mistake, but I silenced my doubts. After all, it was for family. The wedding planning took over everyone's lives. Ijeoma blossomed under the attention her every whim catered to. I contributed in other ways too, buying small decorations, helping with logistics. Yet, as the months passed, I noticed something troubling. Not a single payment had been made toward the venue balance. Each time I asked, my parents brushed me off. We'll pay soon, my mother insisted. After the wedding, when things settled down, Ijeoma avoided the topic entirely, always changing the subject. The wedding day arrived in a blur of lights, music, and laughter. Ijeoma looked stunning in her white lace gown. Guests danced, ate, and praised the lavishness of the event. Everyone complimented my parents for throwing such a grand celebration. But as I stood there, watching the money I didn't have disappear into champagne glasses and rented luxury cars, unease gnawed at me. My credit card balance sat like a ticking time bomb in my pocket. 2 weeks later, the bill arrived. When I saw the full amount, $20,857.43, my heart stopped. I confronted my parents immediately. Mama, Papa, the payment is due, I said, holding up the statement. You need to start paying now. My mother's expression turned cold. Amara, calm down. We just finished paying for other wedding expenses. Give us time. I gave you months. My voice shook with anger. This is in my name. If you don't pay, my credit will be destroyed. My father sighed heavily. You shouldn't be so dramatic. You're young. You'll recover. I stared at them, horrified. Recover? This isn't a small loan. It's $20,000. That's when Ijeoma stepped forward. Amara, why are you making this about you? This was my wedding. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Her words cut deep. Ijeoma, I agreed to help you. But you promised you'd help pay it off. She folded her arms, her expression turning defiant. I never promised that. Mama said you would take care of it because you can afford it. My blood ran cold. What? My mother's voice rose sharply. Don't speak to your sister like that. You're selfish, Amara. All your life, you've had more than her. And now, when she needs you most, you're trying to humiliate her. The room spun. They weren't just refusing to pay, they were blaming me. I stormed out, shaking with rage and betrayal. For days, I couldn't eat or sleep. Collection notices began arriving. My once perfect credit score plummeted. Desperate, I called my parents again. If you don't pay, I'll have no choice but to take legal action, I warned. My mother gasped, as though she were the victim. So you want to drag your own family through court? Over money? It's not just money, Mama. It's my future, I said, my voice breaking. She hung up on me. That night, Ijeoma sent me a text that shattered me completely. If you truly loved me, you'd do this without complaining. I stared at the message, numb. That was when I realized, to them, my worth wasn't as a daughter or a sister. It was as a resource. A bank account with a beating heart. I knew what I had to do. I gathered every receipt, every text, every email. I contacted a lawyer friend, who guided me through the process of filing a formal dispute with my credit card company and a police report for fraud. It was the hardest decision I'd ever made, but I couldn't let them destroy me. When the police showed up at my parents' house, the shock on their faces was almost satisfying, almost. Ijeoma screamed at me, calling me a traitor. My mother wept, accusing me of tearing the family apart. But I stood firm. You tore this family apart when you betrayed me, I said quietly. I won't let you ruin my life. In the weeks that followed, chaos reigned. The bank launched an investigation. My parents tried to rally relatives to their side, painting me as the villain. Some believed them. Others didn't. In the end, the bank ruled in my favor. The fraudulent charge was reversed, and my credit was restored. But my relationship with my family? That was beyond repair. I moved to a new apartment in a different city, cutting off all contact with my parents and Ijeoma. The silence was deafening at first, like losing a limb. But slowly, I began to heal. Then, one evening, I received a call from my aunt, my mother's sister. Her voice was heavy with guilt. Amara, she said softly, your parents, they've been telling everyone you're heartless. But I know the truth. I warned them not to do what they did. Ijeoma wanted that venue so badly, and your mother, she just couldn't say no. My chest tightened. Why me, though? Why ruin my life for it? Because you've always been the responsible one, my aunt said. They thought you could handle it. They never saw you as someone who needed protecting. Her words hit me like a blow. It was never about love or fairness. It was about convenience. Weeks later, I saw a social media post of Ijeoma and Chaik on a luxurious honeymoon in Dubai. My blood boiled. They were living lavishly while I was left to pick up the pieces of my life. That was the moment I blocked them all completely, numbers, social media, everything. Months passed. My life slowly began to stabilize. I found solace in therapy, where I unpacked years of favoritism and manipulation. I learned that boundaries weren't cruel, they were necessary. But deep down, a part of me still mourned the family I thought I had. Almost a year later, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Ijeoma. I hesitated before opening it. Inside was a single page, written in her delicate handwriting. Amara. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. I was selfish and blinded by the idea of a perfect wedding. Mama pushed me, but I let her. When the police came, it opened my eyes. Chaik left me a few months later. I'm broke, and Mama barely speaks to me now. You were right. I destroyed our relationship for one day of glamour. I hope someday you can forgive me, even if we never speak again. Asterisk. Tears blurred my vision. I folded the letter carefully and tucked it away. I wasn't ready to forgive her, not yet. Maybe not ever. But I knew one thing for certain, family is not defined by blood alone. It's defined by trust, respect, and mutual care. As I stood by my window, watching the city lights twinkle, I whispered to myself, never again will I let anyone write my story but me. And for the first time in a long while, I felt free. Blind loyalty to family can lead to self-destruction. Love should never come at the cost of your dignity or future. Boundaries are not betrayal, they are self-respect.